Hey, what's going on? I'm Sam Rhythm. Today I'm going to show you how I made my new track, All I Know. Let's get into it.
This is all I know, and all I know, and all I know, yeah. This is all I know.
So when I first made the song, it started off with a marimba that I played on the keyboard. So I can go through some of the processing that I did on that first. So one of the things that I'm sure you noticed right away is that there's a lot of bass that I ended up cutting out. What I did was I bounced it out to this track, so it's an audio file. I'm thinking I added some more EQ. There's a utility gain and OTT, which gives it that kind of high feel, cutting out a lot more of that bass. Kind of A-B it. I do really like the kind of tinniness that it adds to the marimba for sure. I got that down, and then I created kind of a like toy drum loop. Let's find that. This right here is just a bunch of different claps and household noises and ambient stuff that I put together and kind of quantized to make this cool loop. We can imagine that the first thing I was kind of working with sounded something like this. So I created the marimba with the drum loop. I added what became the first verse vocals and then went immediately into the chorus. So these vocals are the first thing that I had written for the entire song.
If all I know is not enough, would you stay by me when times get tough? If all I say is too much, would you still see me?
So one more thing that I wrote to kind of complement the marimba is right here. I believe that I used output exhale, one of the vocal hits on that, to create this sound that I ended up panning or not panning. Okay, I didn't pan it. So it sounds like this soloed. And then with the marimba. I thought that kind of gave it a nice little feel without adding too much. We have this intro lead here, which is just a simple serum patch. Yeah, so this is pretty much just a basic saw wave with some bend plus minus on it. Kind of just add some fullness to it. I actually just for easy application, I added the one knob filter, and I believe it's being automated to open up. So the one knob filter can actually be a little glitchy at times and create some weird artifacts in your sound. But when it works well, I really do like the cutoff and the filter itself. I like kind of the sonics of it a lot better than other EQs and whatnot. Okay, so the song kind of builds. One cool thing is right here, this harmony.
Is too much.
So I believe what happened was I recorded this line right here, and as you can see, my project is very organized.
Is too much.
If I can recall correctly, I don't think I actually sung that as a harmony. I believe I sung that entire line differently, and I accidentally had unsoloed all of the vocals, and I had heard that one along with the lead, and I said, I guess I sung the harmony, so I left that in there, and it sounded really cool. Okay, so right here in between the pre-chorus and the first verse, I created a half bar um, break. Originally, it was a full bar break, and there was the marimba continued for the following bar, which you can hear on my song on Spotify. However, after I released the song, I spoke with a friend of mine, and he suggested that I create a bar or a half bar of silence, which I actually prefer. So in the version I'm showing you, there's a half bar of silence instead of a full bar of marimba and no vocals. The whole idea for creating the space was that this vocal here
For all I am.
would cut off the pre. They kind of like collided into each other, and I needed to create some sort of space.
Would you still see me for all I am? Love knows.
So in the release version, there's a full bar. However, there will be an EP coming up soon, maybe, possibly, and this song will be on it. And there will be an updated version with the half bar silence.
For all I am. Love notes, I'm sorry. Some drunk calls at the party. Some sex when we're upset. Is all.
So before I move on, I'll talk a little bit lyrically. When I wrote the song, the first, as I mentioned before, the first part of it that I wrote was, if all I know is not enough. Shit, I don't remember.
For all I am. If all I know is not enough.
Okay, yeah. So the first part I wrote is, if all I know is not enough, would you stay by me when times get tough? Kind of the idea for the song was birthed out of this place of feeling like I don't know anything, and instead of saying that, saying, if we're gonna move on in a relationship together to this like imaginary person who doesn't exist, if we're gonna do this, would you love me for everything that I am, for all that I know, even if it isn't too much? Are you willing to accept me? So that's kind of where the idea of this song was created from, and I wanted to write about a personal experience. So in here, we talk a lot about, I don't know why I said we, I talk a lot about a past relationship, and I kind of go into details about, all that it is that I know about love. Okay, so we have the pre-chorus here where a good friend of mine and my former roommate actually sung harmonies because they're so high, and I have such a deep voice that even singing the main was hard enough. So singing the harmonies, I needed to have him on them, so I'll show you that right now.
Love notes, I'm sorry. Some drunk calls at the party. Some sex when we're upset is all I know left to be. Broke phones, runny makeup, and look when I fucked up. Hold your head back when you throw up.
I'll show you the harmonies. We have one panned to the right and one panned to the left.
Drunk calls at the parties, sex when we're upset.
Cool, and then here's the second part.
And look when I fucked up. Hold your head back when you throw up.
And then all together with the lead.
Sorry, some drunk calls at the party. Some sex when we're upset is all I know left to be. Broke phones, runny makeup, and look when I fucked up. Hold your head back when you throw up.
Cool, and then what else do we have going on here in the pre? We have, I believe, these pads. One's panned right and one's panned left. Just to kind of give it some ambient feel.
And I fucked up. Hold your head back when you throw up.
What else do we have going on here? It's pretty simple. We just have this clap. We have the percussion loop. We have those two pads. We have the marimba, the Vox effect. And then we introduced this for the chorus. It's kind of more ambient vocal synth fill. I actually made it in Arcade. um, which is a output plugin. I can show you that. So this is what it sounds like. I'll bring it up so you can hear it because it's really low. I'll play it over here. Let's see. Cool. I just have some LFO tool on it to give it some bounce, just a little bit of bounce. We have this altar boy to give it more of an effective. Sounds pretty cool this way too, but we just brought up the pitch and dropped down the formant. So when you hear it, you can't really hear it when it's in the chorus. It's very low, but it kind of fills out the space. And I will show you the chorus.
To be. This is all I know, and all I know, and all I know, yeah. This is all I know, and all I know, all I've ever known, yeah.
Okay, so let's go through that. It's pretty simple. What I did with the marimba is you're listening to kind of the same part as here, as in the pre-chorus and the verse. But here, as you hear the last, I want to say 3.5 bars of, in the last 3.5 bars of the pre, you can hear that it goes an octave up. So we have 2 parts of the marimba going on. And then it continues into the chorus.
And all I know, and all I know, yeah.
So we still have this vocal part, but then we added one to the left. Sounds like this. So together, kind of give like more of a stereo feel.
No.
Some other things, we could go over the bass part. The bass took me a while. I was playing with a bunch of different sounds. We have this thing called an edge flute, and I believe we have 2 different 808s, one that's higher, one that's lower. So we have kind of like a higher pitched balance bass. And then I believe this is also higher pitched, different tones together. And then we have, I believe this is the sub that's held out. So the sub, I'm just using some EQ compression through Neutron 2. I have R bass, which is boosting the frequency around 95. So it's just boosting at 95, just a little bit. Actually, it looks like I'm taking away, but it's still giving it a little bit of a boost. I'll let you hear that. Like much quieter without it. And then we have just another sub, but in a higher octave. All together, it sounds like this. And both of the sub basses are side chained, so they bounce. Yeah. Cool. And then the drums, so I'm actually using a loop. Somebody call the police. from Dwilly's Pack. Dwilly's a dope producer. So what I normally do when I build out certain tracks is I will add a drum loop, and then eventually I will build and create my own drums. But sometimes the drum loop that I use as a placeholder is too good to replace. So we have this drum loop here. Super grooving. Let's take a look what I'm doing to it. Let's go through the equalizer, just cutting off a little bit of the lows. We have a boost that looks like it's around 200. Another boost at around almost 900, and then we're just boosting the highs over here. Transient shaper kind of allowed it to punch through the mix a little bit. I'll let you hear that. And now here's it without it. Kind of gave it that extra volume. And then just to give it more bass, I added a kick here, which I surprisingly put OTT on. I'm not really sure why. Probably also to bring out a little bit of the punch in the kick. I'll normally do that if I use any type of loop, is sometimes I'll add in my own kicks or my own claps or even just different parts and kind of adjust it so that way it fits in my mix better. If I'm not going to chop it up or anything like that. So that's basically the chorus. And we have like this outro here. Sorry, not outro, like a outro chorus. There's definitely a proper name for it. If you know it, please write in the comments because I can't think of it. All I know. So right there, I don't know if I'm doing much special with my vocals. I believe I just added a delay automation, which is what you're hearing. Okay, and I have two layers here, deep right and high left. So to the right, I'm panning kind of like a radio thing going on. I'm using Decapitator, great plugin. A lot of people love Decapitator. I think it's okay. It's just like a standard distortion plugin. I have a lot going on here. Tune, little alter boy, which is just kind of bringing the format down to give it like a lower sound without actually bringing the pitch down. The Maserati vocals, which I don't normally use that much, but I was just kind of playing around with different Waves plugins, and it gave it a nice treble-y feel. As you see, the trebles turn kind of all the way, not all the way, but 3/4 of the way up. Again, real ADT, which I'm not sure why I'm using that on things that I'm panning, because usually you would use it if you have a vocal right in the middle, and the real ADT is gonna pan them to the right and the left. I have a feeling it was just a preset that I had and it was on there and it sounded good and I left it. Arvox is just like a compressor that 3 knobs. I think I'm using it for the gate. I'm just gating some of the noise is what it looks like. I'm not even using the compressor, just for a gate. And then we have the one to the left. Same effects, just I believe the format is actually, yeah, the format's up a little bit and the pitch is all the way up by 12. Now we have the second verse, which is pretty much the same as the first, production wise. Lyrically, it's a little bit different, well, obviously. But production wise, it's the same. The lyrics change even in the pre, but production wise, it's exactly the same. The chorus, the second chorus is also exactly the same, except I add one thing in the second chorus. We have these toms here. We have one pan to the right and one pan to the left. I'm always trying to pan things where I can to create a more wider sounding mix.
All that love can be.
Yeah. And I believe they're timed a little bit off from each other, so you get like that flam effect. And they're very quiet. I mean, you can barely hear them, but they're just there to give like a little bit more of a feel and to change up the second chorus just a tad.
All I know, and all I know, and all I know, yeah.
Cool. Okay, so then we have the kind of bridgey lead into the third chorus, which is just the first verse repeated with the drums. It's really all it is.
If all I know is not enough, would you stay by me when times get tough? If all I say is too much, would you still see me for all I am?
So then we go back into the chorus, but I drop everything out. It gives it. So when I first made this song, this is how the chorus sounded.
Yeah. This is all I know, and all I know.
And with the drums dropped out, it gives it a more. It gives it more anticipation and I think a cooler feel. So I wanted to add that. To add anticipation and kind of a build to the final ending, I added a few different things. So I added some bongos using arcade again. As you can see, everything I do is bounced out. It's really just to save CPU, and it's just easier to work with. So we have these bongos, like tonal bongos for sure. And let's see if I could find the patch. Not sure where it is. Here they are. Okay, yeah, so I'm using an arcade patch, shuffle and slide. Pretty self-explanatory. Arcade has some cool loops and stuff. You can chop them up. If I'm looking for like a quick bongo sample and I don't have a bongo nearby, I'll go into arcade or really anything like type of ambient sound it's super good for.
All I am, this is all I know, and all I know.
Okay, so then the bongos continue. I believe they get louder, and then we add in a guitar part towards the end of this kind of second and a half chorus bridge.
This is all I know, all I know, all I've ever known.
Okay, so for the final chorus, it's not even really a final chorus, it's kind of like an outro, because that was the final chorus. It's kind of like an instrumental outro for sure. So we have two new things at least, I believe, going on. We have two guitar parts. So what happened was I played like a bunch of random guitar parts, and then I had found two that worked really well together. Separately, they were kind of boring, but together, panned left and right, they're super interesting. So I'll let you hear it. And then we have this one. So then together they sound like this. And everything drops out and it all comes in together. At the end, I just threw in the vocals that were from after the first chorus to kind of give it this finale. Yeah, and that's how I made the song. Please comment down below if you have any more questions, or if there's anything I missed, if there's anything that you want to know that I did in this song or any of my other songs. I'm happy to make more videos and answer your comments down below. Thank you, and see you next time.